Yeah, you read the title. What's going on with Crocodile these days? I'm kind of curious. Aren't you curious? We don't really get to see the guy too much. I hope he's doing well. You know, wherever he's at in the world, whatever kind of criminal organization he's beginning to build up, I just hope he gets enough sleep at night. I'm hoping he's eating well. You know, we don't want to see his health deteriorate in any major way, right? His title is Sir Crocodile. I mean, that seems like a title you have to be given. Like, it's not really something you could just call yourself. It seems like you have to be, like, knighted by a king or a queen. Like, I now declare you Sir Crocodile. Does he still have the title? I don't know. Honestly, though, after he became a member of the Royal Shishibukai, I mean, Crocodile's kind of an arrogant bastard, so I could see him like, yes, my title will be Sir from now on because I'm so awesome. Actually, now that I think about it, it might call back to that gender bending theory because of Ivankov and the secret. I actually made a whole video about that, so we're not really going to be focusing on that too much there, but interesting to theorize. All right, so after Impel Down, after he was freed from level 6 and they barge their way out of the prison, they get to Marineford, they fight against everybody. Crocodile has a moment where, honestly, few cool moments at Marineford. He has a moment where he just immediately tries to take out Whitebeard, and I'm sure if Luffy didn't step in and, deflect Crocodile's attack, Whitebeard would have just boom, just pounded his face right in. Crocodile, I mean, like, he's a smart guy, but I think in that one particular instance, he was just so just happy he got a chance to attack Whitebeard again. Because if you remember how this worked was he saw Goldie Roger's execution 24 years ago. Crocodile got really inspired by that. He wanted to set out to sea to become king of the pirates. He rose to fame very early on. That's why his bounty was frozen as low as it was. His bounty is only 81 million. Well, pre-time skip frozen, when he became a warlord. Many people have looked at that and said, well, that's not very impressive when compared to Don Quixote's frozen bounty, which was over 300 million. Kuma's was 295 or something. But keep in mind, if your bounty as a warlord when it's frozen is pretty low, that just proves that you rose to prominence very early on. That proves that the government saw you as a threat before you became a really big threat, and it's oh, this guy has potential, let's recruit him into our organization, freeze his bounty, and let him work for us from now on. Now, of course, Crocodile being Crocodile, he manipulated that to his own ends and created Baroque works and all that stuff. But yeah, just because he had a frozen bounty that was relatively low early on in the story doesn't mean that he's not strong, okay? Not that bounty ever directly referenced strength at all, but you know what I mean. After that, Crocodile saved Ace from being executed. He went up against Aka Inu very briefly, so Crocodile had a lot of really cool moments during that war. You gotta like him just for that. So after the war was over, after Blackbeard shows up, Whitebeard dies, Ace dies, Shanks shows up, Crocodile, I think at that point was all right, Mr. One, let's just skip out of the back door. Let's just steal a ship and get out while everyone's freaking out here. I think Crocodile more than anybody knows when it's time to exit stage left. All right, he's last time I standed my ground, I ended up getting the crap beat out of me by a rubber man. So let's just leave. And they get into this random town where they use I'm sure their diplomacy in order to heal their wounds. Honestly, if you see Crocodile and Mr. One walk into an inn or something and be they're all bloody and bleeding from Marineford, and they're just hello there, because Crocodile's very suave. He's like a Bond villain. I usually refer to him as a Bond villain because he basically is. This guy walks into your establishment and just lays his hook hand on the freaking counter and just, me and my companion would like some rooms, and we would also like a hot meal. And they're just bleeding profusely from the battle. And are you gonna deny that guy? You can, but yeah. So they stay in some random town for a couple of weeks. They heal up. The last time we see Crocodile and Mr. One before the time skip is they're reading the newspaper. Crocodile sees what's going on with Luffy with his, return to Marineford and the ringing of the Oxloid's bell and the 3D2Y message. Obviously, Crocodile knows nothing about that message, but it gets him motivated. It's I think we've licked our wounds enough, Mr. One. I think it's time for us to get moving. He doesn't specify exactly what he's going to be doing. He just says, I think it's time to get our asses up and moving around again, okay? And so that was the last time we saw Crocodile for a very long time, right up until one very, very brief moment in chapter 903. I think it was right after Luffy got his new bounty, his 1.5 billion bounty. We see Crocodile just chilling out in a rather well-to-do locale. It's seemed like a really fancy hotel or restaurant to me personally, and Crocodile's just there, just reading the paper, not saying anything, just looking at the paper and noticing Luffy's bounty, skyrocket, and he's just like, And then that's all we get with him. Now, he did get a cameo, not really a cameo, he had rather of a prominent role in Stampede, the most recent One Piece movie. If you haven't seen it yet, Crocodile does get some pretty cool action in that, so definitely go check out Stampede if you haven't seen it yet, if you're just missing Crocodile a lot, alright? So, though, what's he up to? Well, few things. Number one, I don't think he turned over a new leaf. I'm just gonna throw that out of the way right there, because that's kind of boring for Crocodile, I don't feel like, because you could honestly, there's enough, evidence to support that. I'm not saying that's, a completely unfounded claim. The guy got the crap beat out of him by Whitebeard when he was just becoming a pirate. Then Luffy, he had this master plan to find Pluton and everything, and then Luffy, a relatively brand new pirate, a rookie, beat the shit out of him at that point. Then he got thrown in level 6 Impel Down for a while. Then he finally got out. And then all these, he witnessed all these really strong, admirals and pirates and Yonko at Marineford. I'm just saying, witnessing all that stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if Crocodile was like, you know what? I think I'm just gonna put the whole King of the Pirates dream on the back burner. I think I'm gonna open a bakery. I love how my idea is, whenever, everybody starts a bakery. Arlong is starting a bakery. Crocodile's starting a bakery. That's the ultimate. Maybe I want to start a bakery subconsciously. Maybe that's what I should do if the YouTube thing doesn't work out, I could just start a bakery. I don't know. So, if you're in that situation, if you're Sir Crocodile, what's the first thing you're going to do? You're in the new world, you got your loyal companion, Mr. One, with you, as your partner in crime. You still want to become King of the Pirates. Because remember, during Mrs. Golden Week's Meet Baroque cover story, she did her rainbow colors trap. And we got to see all of the different Baroque Works members and their ultimate dream, the thing that they always wanted to be. Mr. One wanted to be a superhero, because he has the Supa no Mi. That's Oda and the puns going up again. So he wanted to be a superhero. Crocodile, he wanted to be King of the Pirates. So that was very clearly his dream, and so I can't feel him just abandoning that dream, okay? And this was even after the defeat of Whitebeard and Luffy. He still had that dream to become King of the Pirates. So he still has that dream. So first step is going to be to gather power, okay? Now, there's a bunch of different ways you could do this. Would it be all right, we tried doing Baroque Works. Basically, that was gathering a bunch of relatively weak people together in large number to try to fulfill my main goal. My goal at the point was to get my hands on Pluton at Alabasta, and that didn't work out. Here's a question. Does Crocodile still believe that the location of Pluton is not at Alabasta? Because it was. That's the thing. When they got to the tomb and Nico Robin was reading the poneglyph, it did specify the location of Pluton. Robin lied to Crocodile and said that it didn't. And then later at Impel Down, when they free him, Luffy's like, oh, I'm not going to let you go. I'm not going to team up with you after what you did to Vivi's country. And Crocodile's like, nah, I have no interest in that place anymore. Give me a cigar. So does he just still believe it? It just yep. That was over 10 years of my life trying to get my hands on that poneglyph, trying to figure out where that Pluton was, and it was all for crap. So I don't think Crocodile ever found out any evidence to the contrary. At first, he didn't believe Nico Robin. At first, he's like, that's bullcrap, you're lying to me, and they got into a fight, and he ended up just taking her out. But it's maybe he can't read the poneglyphs, so he wouldn't know any way other than that. He would just be like, well, damn it. So I don't know if Crocodile would be trying to find Pluton or the ancient weapons, because he figured he wasted so much of his life trying to do it the first time, and it resulted in just getting the crap beat out of him by Luffy in an Egyptian tomb. I don't see him doing that again. I see him starting up another criminal syndicate, but doing it very, very differently this time. Number one, not relying too much on, quantity, relying more on quality. Alright, so I could see him, honestly doing, kind of a mafia thing. Kind of like Beiji a little bit there. Where the first thing they do is they find an island in the New World that they could set up a home base at. That's, number one. They find an island that is maybe visited by a lot of, questionable people. people that, are maybe mercenaries, assassins. I made a whole video on bounty hunters this week, so maybe this is like kind of like Mos Eisley in Star Wars, to do a reference there. So he's gonna find a place like that, where it might have a little bit of class to it, but there's still a lot of really dangerous people that arrive at this island as sort of a hub for work. So he finds that place. He sets up a building, in the basement of like maybe a bakery. I'm just going to continue with the bakery. I don't know why I'm going with it. I'm just rolling with it. He sets it up in the basement of this bakery, and the plan is just to find a bunch of really strong people. Their backgrounds really don't matter as long as they're really strong and they're reliable. Okay? So we're looking for assassins. We're looking for hired mercenaries. We're looking for bounty hunters. We're looking for all those kind of people, right, that could help us out here with this job. Get everybody together, maybe a group of like a dozen people, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but not like a lot of people. And then the plan is going to be, I think, to take down a Yonko. I don't think Crocodile is going to try to do the really... I don't think he's going to do the long game plans anymore. Or, like, 2 years, that's a long time. But, like, the whole Baroque Works thing, that took, like, over a decade. You understand? That took a really, really long time. And just for the sake of, like, hurrying this along so Crocodile can be relevant to the story again, Crocodile does not have time to set up another decades-long plan, infiltrating a country, gaining, the appeal of the people, setting up his home base in a nice fancy pyramid casino, swirling his wine, gathering all the money. He doesn't really have time to do that anymore. Plus, he's not a warlord anymore, so he is on the run from the law. He can't do that. Part of the reason he was able to do all that stuff at Alabasta was because he was a royal Shishibukai. He was Sir Crocodile, so he could get away with that. The government and the Marines knew that he was at Alabasta, but they didn't know he was Mr. Zero. They didn't know he was heading up Baroque Works, right? So yeah, he can't do that the same way. So he's got to make this work, and he's got to make it work fast. All right, so he's like, okay, step one, find a home base, and then him and Mr. One go out and try to recruit the strongest people they can find. And then after they get them all together, they get him in the room, and he lights up a cigar and just... Gentlemen, I would like to thank you for all coming to this meeting today. I'm sure you've already met my associate, Mr. One. Mr. One's just standing behind him, and he just, like, all these blades just protrude from his body at once, like, shh. Don't piss him off. Just letting you know, don't piss this guy off. And also, Crocodile has reputation of him himself. Like, everybody there would probably know who he is. This wouldn't be a case of, like, I don't know who you are. Crocodile, big display, he's part of the breakout at Impel Down. That would get into the paper. Well, I guess that didn't get into the paper because the level 6 prisoners, a lot of level 6 prisoners, that information was suppressed. But Crocodile made a big display at Marineford, so they know Crocodile got out. Like, most of the world have seen Crocodile on the, the Den Den Mushi and stuff. They know he's out, along with Jinbei. So he has a bounty that's been reactivated. So I can imagine that's at least Crocodile's new bounty. I want to say maybe not a billion, because they kind of like save billion bounties for people that, are either directly under Yonko, like their commanders, or people that have directly attacked Yonko and managed to get out alive, like Luffy. So I wouldn't say he has like a billion bounty, but I would say Crocodile, good solid like 700 to 900 million, I honestly think would work with him. Just considering the fact he used to be a warlord, he's got some secrets from the world government, and the Marines just kind of go hand in hand with that. They know he's smart. They know, the government knows, okay, this dude ran this underground criminal syndicate for years right under our noses, so they know he's smart enough to do that. He manipulated an entire country, gathered all these really strong Baroque Works agents together, so they know he's a threat just because of his intelligence. So I think between 700 to 900 million, I think that's fair for Crocodile. And if he does get stronger and stronger, maybe after he broke out, maybe it was like his reactivated bounty was like 300 million. But then he started to make, moves in the new world, and it increased like to 500, 700, depending on what he's doing. We don't know what he's doing. That's the thing. So everybody would know about him, is my point. They would get together in this bakery basement, and they'd be like, all right, yeah, we all know who you are. We know what you're all about, what your abilities are. You had this big display at Marineford. Some of them might be there because they respect Crocodile. Some of them might be there just because they know he can get a job done. You know, like he's a smart enough guy to make that work. He just like, yeah, the whole Alabasta thing. Also keep in mind, that was kind of covered up too, in a way. Crocodile was confirmed to have been defeated, but it was not by Luffy and this like ragtag team of pirates that are relatively new. It was by Smoker and the Marines. So Crocodile could really kind of spin that story in a way to make it believable. He's like, oh yeah, I had this big epic plan in Alabasta and everything was going good, but I had a mole on the inside that turned out to be a Marine, and then that's how all that came crashing down. Or, to be honest with you, it's Crocodile. If anybody had any questions like, hey, why should we listen to you, Crocodile? Why do you get to be the boss of this operation? You got defeated at Alabasta by freaking Smoker. We all heard about that. At that point, Crocodile could proceed to turn into sand and just go down that guy's throat and just and just turn him into a mummy and then just crack open his chest. Crocodile just slithers his way out, goes back to the front of the table, grabs his wine glass, and just as that guy just collapses to the floor, drained of all of his moisture, sucked dry. And Crocodile is just like, I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, what was your question? What was your problem with me? I didn't hear you over the imminent death that you just suffered. So, you know, like, he's strong. So even if people question it, like, or Mr. One could just shing, proceed. Anybody else has any dissent? It's like that scene in Kill Bill with Oren. You know, just like they're all hanging out at a nice table, they're having a nice meeting, that one guy speaks up and she's, nope, shing, done. You don't mess with me, right? So, I think just because we have to speed this along here and he has to be relevant to the story, he's had 2 years to work with this. All that stuff I just explained to you, that happened during the time skip. You know, where he found the base, he got the people together. Let's say a dozen people, just to make it a nice even number. A dozen people, but a dozen really strong people. People with Haki, people with devil fruit powers, bounty hunters, people like that. And now he's he's biding his time, kind of in the same way that I think Blackbeard is biding his time. Blackbeard, I feel, is sitting in the background right now, waiting to see what's going to happen with Kaido and Big Mom and their alliance. And then after that crumbles, Blackbeard's going to make his move. It's possible that Crocodile is doing something very similar, where they know he's out of prison and he's at large, but they might not be that afraid of him. Like, Crocodile might not be that big of a deal from the perspective of Kaido or Big Mom or Blackbeard. They might be like, oh yeah, that Crocodile dude got out of prison. You know, they're busy paying attention to like Luffy and Law and the other supernovas. They're busy the Marines also are busy paying attention to this alliance. Crocodile is in a very unique position here where he might have not have done that many big moves after the war. The Marines know he's a threat. They know he's planning something, but they just don't have the time or resources to keep tabs on him. They don't have the resources to send Cypher Pole to go observe him or Sword to go watch Crocodile. There's so much other crap going on in the world right now with Wano and with the Yonko and with Luffy and everybody. They gotta focus all their attention on that. And Blackbeard, way more of a threat probably in the Marines' eyes. So they gotta focus on all those people. Crocodile's kind of in the shadows and being like, here's the deal. They know I'm planning something, but they don't think of me as a serious threat. Here's what we do. We plan this out smart. We wait for the absolute best moment to strike. And if we play this right, we might be able to take out a Yonko and just pave the way to get to the One Piece. Because I feel like that is still Crocodile's goal. You know, it's probably a little bit more, he tends to do it with a little bit more of an iron fist, where he wants to be king of the pirates. He was still inspired by Rogers, same as Luffy, but he probably wants his rule to be more of like, I'm king of the world now, you listen to what I say, I run this show. That's, I think, more of the fact that he was looking for Pluton. I mean, he probably wanted Pluton for one part to defeat Whitebeard, but he also wanted Pluton just to be like, if I could get my hands on Pluton, I've pretty much gotten the One Piece. I could pretty much just warship Pluton, blast my way to the end of the Grand Line, and no one's gonna stop me, because I have Pluton. Alright? And then after I get the One Piece, I can rule the world, basically, as a suave Bond villain that I am, right? So, I threw out this idea And I wasn't the only one that thought of this. Somebody actually drew a manga chapter of this, of what would happen is, since Big Mom is currently out of Totland, she left with her strongest forces, with the exception of Katakuri and Cracker, and she went to Wano to ally with Kaido. Totland is still relatively defenseless right now. So I threw out the idea of maybe the remaining of the Blackbeard crew attacking Totland, but now that I think about it, Crocodile, that might actually be prime real estate for Crocodile, too. You know, because all Crocodile would really have to do is just defeat the strongest members of her family that are left behind. Katakuri would be the biggest threat, obviously, but he's still, you know, maybe he's still hurting from his fight with Luffy. Cracker, they could defeat Cracker. You know, if you get Crocodile, Mr. One, and all these really strong bounty hunters and stuff, or assassins together, defeat. Did Oven and Daifuku come with Big Mom? I don't believe they did to Wano. I can't remember. I know Perospero and Smoothie and Compote and Montdor. I know they all came with Big Mom to Wano, but I'm not sure. I'd have to take a tally of everybody that's remaining in Totland. But honestly, like, all told, it's like only a handful of like really, really strong warriors that would, you know, pose a really large threat to them. All right, so if they can just take the strongest out, Katakuri being the biggest threat, obviously, then you'd be set. You'd be kind of good to take over Totland. So maybe that might be the plan. Instead of Blackbeard doing it, it's Crocodile's group doing it. Or he has another, or maybe not necessarily even to take over Totland, but just to get his hands on the poneglyph that's inside of Totland. You know, unless Big Mom took it with her when she went to Wano, but I don't see that. I mean, I think the safer place to keep it would be in your home territory. So maybe Crocodile's plan's not even to, like, attack and, you know, like, take over Totland, but in order to just get in there, sneak into the castle in the middle of chaos and grab the poneglyph, or, you know, make a copy of the poneglyph and then get the hell out. You know, given Crocodile's reputation, and given that he ruled over a criminal crime syndicate and he's like a mafia don kind of, like, and if he hired the right people, that would totally be feasible. That would not be impossible at all for him to do. It would be difficult, sure, but not impossible, right? And then maybe his plan is then, yeah, maybe just get into Wano then and to get the other poneglyph and then try to make that move while everyone's going attacking, you know? You know, it's really crazy because before I started to sit down and think about ideas for this video, I never really was considering Crocodile all that much, but he's like a really dangerous guy to just leave alone, you know, because all the crazy things he could come up with that could actually really work. And like outplay everybody, especially if Crocodile has a mole on the inside, similar to Blackbeard. If he has somebody on the inside where of Wano or just in the world where he can learn about stuff going on, maybe a connection to the underworld, considering he kind of is, you know, I could see that. Like, he has a connection with the underworld in some way, some information broker of the underworld that could tell him, like, oh, you want information about what's going on in Wano? Well, it'll cost you, but if Crocodile has the resources and the connections, he could definitely figure that stuff out. Now, this could actually be a thing where it's like they get to, like, they like after Wano and everything, like, we don't touch upon Crocodile at all up until like the 11th hour, and then we find out at like last minute, like, yeah, while Luffy and the crew were all doing this, and while Kaido and Big Mom were allying and then fighting and then allying and then fighting again, and Blackbeard's doing his stuff, Crocodile just appears and he's like, I'm back, everybody. You know, I've been planning this for like 2 years plus now. I've looked at it from every angle. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to do this. And he's like one of those factions that arrives at Laugh Tale. In the bounty hunter video, I thought about how it'd be cool to get a bunch of really strong bounty hunters, the best of the best in the world, that use weird weapons and they know Haki and they could be a serious threat. Some people were a little bit dubious of that because of just introducing a bunch of really strong characters out of nowhere. And they would be new characters. You can't really get around that. But how about introducing a bunch of these really strong bounty hunter characters, but they're under the banner of a familiar villain that we know, and that's Crocodile and Mr. One. I was also throwing out the idea of him gathering together like some other members of Baroque Works, but most of them are kind of off doing their own thing. Like, we know Mr. 3 Galdino is with Buggy's crew right now, and the like Paula, or I think her name is Zazan, I think, or Zaza is her actual name. Mrs. Doublefinger, you know, Bon Clay is obviously an Impel Down level 5.5, and he wouldn't ally with him again. Mr. Ford, Mrs. Merry Christmas, they're all kind of on their own right now. They're in paradise, and they're just kind of there, and they're living out their dreams, so there's really no reason for them to get involved again. Mr. 5, Mrs. Valentine is there too. Nico Robbins, obviously, with the Straw Hats. So I don't really, aside from Mr. 1, yeah, I really didn't see him gathering together like the Baroque Works crew again. Oh yeah, Mr. Nine. I want to find Mr. Nine. He was really the best of the best when it came to that. He makes back to Whiskey Peak, gets Mr. Nine back in action. He's like, I'm in need of your mighty baseball bats once again, Mr. Nine. Mr. Nine actually got married to Mrs. Monday, and they have a kid now. So that's adorable, right? So no, yeah, I don't see anything like that. But hey, here are these really strong bounty hunters and mercenaries. They're brand new to the story. We've never seen them before. We have to just kind of, understand they're really strong. But Crocodile's the one that's like smoking the cigar, drinking the wine, that's like ruling over them, and he's going to be coordinating this attack in the shadows. And it might even be a thing where like the bounty hunters show up first, and that we don't even know they're allied with Crocodile. But later we find out he is. He's part of that. So yeah, what do you guys think? Let me know below how you feel about what Crocodile's up to, what his master plan is, and how he could be relevant to the story right now. That's the biggest problem with this. Because I think under the best case scenario, Crocodile, like if this was taking in a place, like taking it away from the fact it's in a manga, Crocodile would wait years and years and years building up power. But considering we need to see Crocodile in the story before it ends, and considering we just had the 2-year time skip, we're probably not going to get another time skip of any major variety. If it is, it's only going to be a few months. We're not going to do another 5-year time skip or anything like that. From the meta concept of the story, he's got to make his move soon, whatever his move is. So I'm trying to figure out a good reason why he would just hurry it up. And what's the biggest thing? Like, oh, well, take down a Yonko. Take down a Yonko, easiest way to get there. And if he has the right people for the job, he might be able to make it work with his intelligence. You have Logia powers, and you know how to use them. Haki, that's the big question on everybody's mind. You know, when he was fighting Luffy at Alabasta, Crocodile's supposed to be this really strong fighter, but he didn't have armament Haki. My logic for this has always been that Crocodile spent all those years trying to learn his devil fruit and trying to master his devil fruit to the utmost degree, to the point where I could see him being awakened 100%, considering he's like, Katakuri and Doflamingo were like in their 40s and they both had awakened. Crocodile's in his 40s. Was he an awakened user, while he was fighting Luffy at Alabasta? Because we didn't see that. Because if he is a Logia awakened, that would imply that he'd be able to change the weather, and he did change the weather at Alabasta, but it was only because it was a desert nation. He could whip up sandstorms. Like, we're talking like if Crocodile was truly awake and he could go into any town, like this is a nice little coastal town that's got a nice forest back there, and just the snap of his fingers, Crocodile could turn it into a desert overnight. So I'm going to throw out the idea that maybe if he wasn't awakened during Alabasta, he was very, very close to awakening. And I think just an awakening at first would definitely bolster Crocodile's stock right now to get him to the point where it's like he can contend with a lot of other really strong fighters. Haki as well. Maybe Crocodile was aware of Haki, but considering he's a Logia, and think about what Peckham said. Peckham said, there's a lot of Logias out there in the world that think of themselves as invincible. There's a lot of Logias that feel just so arrogant and awesome because their powers are so, because Logias are the rarest and you could turn into elements and stuff. It's easy to let your head get away with you with that, to get like in a ballooned head, like, yeah, I could do anything. Crocodile definitely kind of had that a little bit. Now, granted, Crocodile was very skilled at using his devil fruit. It wasn't all bluster. He could definitely use it in a bunch of unique ways, but maybe he was just so focused on that, even if he knew of Haki's existence, he's like, I don't even need Haki. I got my devil fruit, But after his defeat by Luffy, and then after witnessing Marineford, all the crazy characters using Haki at Marineford, maybe Crocodile was like, maybe I need to sit down and learn this stuff, okay? So, coming back into the story, I don't think it would be too much of an insane power-up for him to learn some Haki and have an awakened fruit, because he was already kind of close to it, if you ask me. So we'll see where this goes, and let me know also about how you think like new abilities he could get with Haki or his devil fruit awakening. Let me know about that below. Thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking101 signing out. I'm going to go look into some zoning codes if I want to open up a bakery. Like, what do I have to fill out or something? Just preliminarily. I want to see how this would work, okay? Have a good one, everybody.